Have you ever wondered why we see almost all things in life separated into two distinct opposites? It feels as though as we press through this life, we are constantly making decisions based on a one or the other scenario. We find ourselves pitted one against another on many topics, such as light versus dark, yin versus yang, nature versus nurture, rich versus poor, atheist versus theist, conservatism versus liberalism, and of course, good versus evil. Binary opposition is a key concept in structuralism and was introduced by the Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure. To quote Saussure, he stated, "The ultimate law of language is, dare we say, that nothing can ever reside in a single term. This is a direct consequence of the fact that linguistic signs are unrelated to what they designate, and that therefore A cannot designate anything without the aid of B, and vice versa. Or, in other words, that both can have value only by the difference between them." In basic terms, we cannot define one side without the other, nor can we understand one side without the other. You cannot have light without the dark. Likewise, you cannot have good without evil. In most cases, in this concept, there is one side that dominates the other. A good example of this would be the hero and the villain. However, in the modern age, we are slowly starting to see this idea of binaries and the dominance of one versus another slowly being chipped away. We see this in the third and fourth wave feminism, post-colonialism, and in critical race theory. The idea that certain binaries can be deconstructed to criticize and analyze their basic meaning and values. In my opinion, I believe that in most everyday scenarios, the choice between one and another is a subjective choice based on the situation at hand, and should be treated as such. We find that in the modern age, when it comes to binaries such as conservatism versus liberalism and atheism versus theism, we often side with one binary to a radical degree, where, if any idea from the opposite side of the coin is pitched, we reject it. We find ourselves thinking that we are right, but this is just a subjective viewpoint. The person opposite you, who is the same as you, feels the exact same way. There is a concept in quantum mechanics known as a superposition of states. In Erwin Schrödinger's famous cat experiment, he posited that the cat could evolve over time into a superposition of classically distinct quantum states, such as the state of being dead and alive. When presented with binary scenarios, I have found use in applying this concept and remaining in a superposition of states until each scenario presents itself. Every situation is different, with all of its own variables to consider. This is actually where the name for my channel, Superposition of Life, comes from. As for me personally, I find value in deciding what is the best choice in the moment the choice is presented, instead of tying myself down to one side or another for an indefinite amount of time.